Here we go. Okay, good evening. We are very honored to have with us Rabbi Efraim Mintz, Director of JLI International, in our Wednesday night special guest series. And we're very honored that he's joined us. Thank you, Rabbi. I know it's a busy time. You're muted now. We need you to unmute. Ask to unmute. You got to unmute. You're still muted. There you go. Okay, so Rabbi, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Very, very honored to have you. See more people are coming on. We'll wait another few seconds here. We'll get ready to go. JLI, Jewish Learning Institute. Can you please begin by giving us a little background? How did JLI get started? What year was it started? What was the impetus? Whose bright idea was this? And how did it go from a bright idea to one of the most influential opportunities for Torah study throughout the world?
Good evening. Thank you, Rabbi Epstein. Good evening to our dear friends joining from the Chicago area. It's nice to participate and join you, albeit virtually. Are you hearing me, Rabbi Epstein?
We hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So I'm oftentimes asked, when did JLI start? When did the Jewish Learning Institute start? And I think the most accurate answer to that question is it started several thousand years ago at Sinai, at the giving of the Torah at Har Sinai, at Mount Sinai, when we were granted not only the Torah, but we were granted essentially our mission statement for life as individuals, as a community. And together with that, we were granted also the opportunity to share our wisdom with others. So that's when the mission and the vision of JLI started. It took some years. You know, we're a people that it takes us a while to get our act together. So several years later, about 20 plus years ago, is when the name and the logo was actually finalized, and that's when the operation, as what you call JLI today, is when we got started.
So when we talk about JLI, maybe some of the people here tonight maybe have never participated in JLI, they don't know about it. What is JLI? Jewish Learning Institute, what is that?
So JLI really is the, every community leader, every rabbi, every teacher has been teaching Torah ever since Sinai. This is who we are. As the famous statement by Rabbi Yehuda Halevi, Judah Halevi says, Ein umatenu uma ella b'torata. Our nation is not a nation without our Torah. What defines our peoplehood is our Torah. Jewish literacy is at the heart and soul of our existence as a people, and has been and continues to be the secret of Jewish continuity until this very day. So learning, studying, and teaching Torah is nothing new. What the new element that JLI introduced was that while every rabbi, every community leader has been teaching, preparing lessons, courses, seminars, by and large on their own, they would each prepare, as they do their own sermons, they would prepare, research, prepare, and deliver their own classes. And while obviously there are common resources that most teachers return to, we found that there was a void in something, a resource that will serve the community. In particular, we started it to service the community of Chabad Shluchim and Shluchos, the men and women who lead Chabad houses around the world, who were really so taxed, so burdened with servicing the needs of their community, trying to reach yet another Jew and yet another Jew, staying up late at night, meetings, counseling, being there for others, getting up early in the morning and doing what they do on a day-to-day basis, 24/7, and preparing a class, taking the time to research, to prepare, to collect your thoughts, put together the key sources, and a class that's pedagogically sound, a class that's engaging, a class that's likely to resonate with your target audience, could be rather challenging for many a rabbi. And many did quite well, many did superbly well, and others still struggled. And we felt, how would it be if we could develop a resource, a network that will provide prepared content, lessons, seminars, courses, which are very engaging, prepared in a very engaging and professional, cutting-edge manner. At the same time, also train our instructors and help them with all that goes into the prior, the pre, if you will, the pre-class, so that they can do the best that they can while they're actually engaging face-to-face. So instead of sitting at a computer trying to design a flyer, sitting at a computer the night before trying to design a source sheet, trying to grab translations and formatting text, and you know what that means, Rabbi Epstein, and taking all that valuable time that could be better spent interacting with others, teaching, uplifting, and inspiring fellow Jews. We would do the legwork for the rabbis, and they would then go ahead and prepare and deliver the class to their communities. And that was essentially the goal.
So you start out with this vision to try to, as you said, empower them. And how's it going? How many Chabad houses, institutions, Chabad centers today are utilizing the resources of JLI?
Right, so it's a great question. We started off actually, you recall Rabbi Epstein, Rabbi Baruch Epstein. I should point out that Rabbi Epstein's brother, his elder brother, Rabbi Hesh Epstein, director of Chabad in South Carolina, has actually been at the forefront, at the very beginning, at the genesis. He has been one of the key leaders and really a creative engine in much of what JLI has become today. Many of you may know Rabbi Epstein from his visits to your community. He has become a close friend, both personally to me and to so many others. And he has been part of a small group that worked with us. So Rabbi Epstein, he continues to be a vital part of JLI, including he serves as the chairman of the National Jewish Retreat, as you know, among many other responsibilities. JLI started off with developing what we call our flagship program, which I'll get to in a moment to describe what that means. It's the wide array of courses that most of your audience would be most familiar with. And over the years, we have developed other offerings. Torah Studies is another program based on the weekly Torah portion. We have since published over 55 books servicing that department. We have the very popular Rosh Chodesh Society, taught monthly by Rebbitzins, Chabad Shluchot around the world to women in their community. We have a JLI Teens program. We have advanced learning programs, interactive programs, seminars, mental health programs, etc. Today, the JLI program, the JLI Educational Enterprise, what we call the multiplex of JLI in its variety of offerings, is offered today in just over 2,000 communities. We have actually 2,400 trained, certified, over 2,400 trained, certified instructors who are delivering content every night of the week and day, both during the daytime and night of the week. And of course, I guess we'll get to in a moment, Rabbi Epstein, how have we and how we continue to reimagine and revisit what JLI is during COVID-19 times. But I do want to point out something very unique, if I may. And this relates not so much to the content development that you're asking about, although it does touch upon the nature of the courses and how they were developed. But also, we realized from the very beginning that the Jewish community is, as you know, we just picked up another few Nobel Prizes just a few weeks ago, and we have been known to be a rather intelligent people. We are known as the people of the book. Just to make this a bit interactive, can anyone tell me who is the first one to give us the title, Am HaSefer, the people of the book?
Feel free to unmute yourself and jump in.
I think it was the Muslims, wasn't it? Was it Mohammed?
Very good.
There you go.
I thought it was Mohammed.
You can't get anything past our crowd.
Yeah, it's actually in the Quran. Most people think it's like somewhere in Ethics of Our Fathers or some Maimonides, but you are absolutely correct. You know, Rabbi Epstein, I hardly get that at the first shot. Usually it takes
we're a highly educated crowd.
I know that. I know
just
that.
bring you the riffraff here. We bring you into the only the finest.
I'm preparing all afternoon because I'm scared to pray. You know, this is a very daunting task to present to your noble community. So we have been known as the Am HaSefer, but we have been studying not only our books, but many other books. And what we have discovered, and what you know well, what's well known, throughout the Jewish world is that the amount of Jews who find it important to dedicate an hour a week or even a period of time during each day to study Torah is not enough. We have quite a few that do. The Jewish community is a very intelligent community, very educated. We put education at the forefront of who we are as a people, but we realize that there's a rather significant population. In fact, a large part of the Jewish population that unfortunately does not have access to and doesn't engage regularly in Torah studies. I remember actually, I was not far from you, from where you are sitting. I was invited once to a meeting, a conference that was taking place in Skokie, Illinois. And it was put up by an organization at the time. It was called the AAJL, the Alliance for Adult Jewish Learning, of which subsequently I have become a member of their board many years later. When I came to the meeting, it was a group of about 40 to 50 leaders of the world of Jewish education, adult Jewish education, because Jewish education is mostly known to be for pediatric education, for schools, etc. This was a conference that was put up by the AAJL for adult Jewish education, and I was invited as the new director of JLI. This was just 2-3 years after we founded JLI. And when I walked into the room, there was a very well-known person who lives not far from you by the name of Betsy Katz, a wonderful woman who was a pioneer in adult Jewish education. She for many years served as the director of Melton, Florence Melton Adult Mini School. Many of you know her. And a wonderful woman. We have worked together over the years and we're still in touch. She has since stepped down as director of Melton. But so when I walked into the room, they introduced me in a half-jokingly way. They said, Betsy, here's your competition. Here's a director of JLI. And I had all eyes looking at me, and I was in the hot seat, although I was standing. And I turned to Betsy and I said, Betsy, between all of us gathered around this table, representing every type of Jewish organization you can think of across the Jewish landscape, we are not even reaching 5% of the Jewish community. I said, when we, all of us in this room, when we reach 95%, then we will become competitors. Right now, our competition is not each other. Our competition is television, sports, or indifference. That's our competition. And it was they actually titled a session by the following year's AAJL conference using this tagline, that our competition is not each other. And I really believe that unfortunately that remains true, close to 20 years later. And we recognize that, Melton recognizes that, Maya, which was then a program out of Boston, and many other programs recognize that, which is why a number of years ago, when we started several years into JLI, we recognized that we needed to do something that would make a difference, a paradigm shift that will attract and draw the attention of those that are not coming to either JLI or Melton or a local temple or Chabad house. They're not engaged, not interested to partake in Torah study. So what we did was, and the reason we felt was very obvious. It was because the vast majority of Jews today do not see Torah study as something relevant. They may respect it. I believe most Jews do. They may admire it. I believe most Jews do. But they don't see it as something relevant. Most of us do not see the study of Torah as having a seat around the table of relevance. The Wall Street Journal is relevant. The New England Journal of Medicine is relevant to my health. The certain news items are relevant to us. Torah is respected. It's put away in a special place in our homes and synagogues, but it's not something that sparks as relevant, let alone to be having a seat at the head of the table of relevance. So what we did was, and this is actually in a response to your question, Rabbi Epstein, we built what we call 3 pillars of relevance. And I'll share that with you in the time that we have. Number 1, what we teach, how we teach it, and how we brand and market what we teach. And what we quickly discovered based on various studies, 82% of the Jewish community, from college to senior citizenship, are involved. When I say involved, is they're engaged, either studying, practicing, reading, living within one of the following four categories, one of the following four zones, four genres, which means either it's profession-based, but it overtakes well beyond the 9-to-5 day. It's something that overtakes our life. I'll turn to your audience and ask, what might you think those categories are? Four areas that Jews are known to be engaged, actively involved, and very much part of our resume and personal life. Why don't you take a shot at it? Anyone?
They're anti-Semitism.
No. That's unfortunately, that's very much part of life today across all categories. But I'm talking about it's profession-based. What are Jews involved with professionally and as a life pursuit? Four categories, four zones. Academia, you said?
Yeah, academia
Academia is one. Medicine is one.
Finance.
Finance is another one. Thank you.
Law.
Law is the third. And the fourth one is?
Longshore fishermen.
The fourth one is psychology.
How do you feel about that?
82% of the Jewish community are either studying, practicing, teaching, reading, either medicine, law, finance, and psychology. Now, obviously, there are many subcategories to each of these. This is very generally speaking. And we quickly realized that in order for us to engage the Jewish community, we would need to enter carefully and cleverly into each of these zones, each of these categories. And that's what we endeavor to do. And I'll give you an example. One of our earlier courses, many of you may have seen or even taken. Can you see this, Rabbi Epstein?
Sure, beautiful. Yeah.
It was called Medicine and Morals, a course on medical ethics, and it was prepared with a team of physicians, mental health, both medical professors and researchers, as well as alongside rabbis. And most importantly, this course is accredited by the American Medical Association. So physicians required to obtain annually, in order to practice medicine, they need to renew their license to practice medicine with the AMA. By taking this course, they satisfy most of their required medical AMA credits. And the course obviously doesn't only speak to physicians, but most importantly, it obviously touches upon, it's also endorsed by leading names in the field, as you can see. And as you see here, it's endorsed by the AMA. Now, what this does is it attracts the attention. It becomes suddenly relevant, not because of its Judaic or Torah value per se, but because this is what I do. I study medicine, I practice medicine, it's my genre, it's what I do, it's what I live with. And if you're offering a course and I'm Jewish, I may as well take it and I get my credits for it. Rabbi Epstein, the first time we ran this course, we had 21,000 participants take this course. We have since developed a number of courses credited by the AMA. The same is true with law. Many of you have seen, this is a more recent course called The Dilemma, and we have over 25 courses accredited by the American Bar Association. It happens to be in Chicago. You have a rather robust network of JLI chapters offering CLE accreditation for attorneys. We have attracted and we have actually granted CLE accreditation today to over 150,000 attorneys over the past 20 years. Through taking our course, we at JLI, we actually have a robust, very active office, a fully staffed office working on continuing education credits, working constantly with the American Medical Association, the American Bar Association. And by the way, Rabbi Epstein, the American Medical Association is a national body. So we work through medical centers here in New York, in Boston, and we get accredited through the AMA in Washington. But the American Bar Association, as you know, is a state-by-state office. So we have to work, and we have relationships with every bar association in every state, as well as Australia, South Africa, South and Central America, and a number of countries throughout Europe. So we are attracting, this is one area of relevance, one pillar of relevance, what we're teaching, right? So medicine, law, and finally, I'm pleased to share this course, How Happiness Thinks, was a course on positive psychology, very much based on Tanya. And Rabbi Epstein has a very popular Tanya class. And this is my opportunity to say that I am one of Rabbi Epstein's students, because I give Tanya classes myself. And I in my preparation for the class, I listened to Rabbi Epstein's recording, and it has his unique signature style. And it's
only my mother listened.
Huh?
I thought only my mother listened.
Well, your mother has a large audience with her. So this course on How Happiness Thinks, Positive Psychology, actually was accredited by the APA, the American Psychological Association, offering credits to psychologists, psychiatrists, mental health professionals, and this has these courses, and we have many today, including the latest one we did last year, Warrior to Warrior, very popular course. This course had close to 40,000 students, by the way. It was translated into 9 languages.
Amazing.
By the way, English, obviously, Russian, Spanish, German, French, Portuguese, Hebrew, and German. Now, we have many courses that are accredited. So that's one area of relevance that we recognize, that we have to be relevant to the not in simply what we're teaching. And once we have that, then am I on?
Yeah. We're listening.
There was a blink. So that's pillar number 1 of relevance, Rabbi Epstein, what we teach. The second is, so we're teaching not what we feel is important. We're teaching, and by the way, not only accredited courses, we have over 70 courses, only about 40% offer credits, medical, legal, or psychological. The rest are non-accredited courses on Talmud, Jewish philosophy, Jewish history, Holocaust, Israel, etc. What's interesting is, and because of our relationship with these agencies, we were able to accredit a course on communication by the American Psychological Association. Communication is at the heart of psychology, and they found the material that qualifying enough to earn credits, and many other courses along the same lines. The nicest thing, one of the nicest pieces of feedback was, we did a very extensive survey 2 years ago. And what we discovered was that 37% of those who came to attend JLI courses, they came into the door, they enrolled only because of the accreditation. Yet within a 12-month period, they returned to take a non-accredited JLI course. 37%. Wow. We consider that a very significant feather in the caps of JLI instructors.
Get them in the door. If they come for cholent, they'll stay for tefillin.
Exactly. And those who are coming for tefillin are staying for cholent as well. Because once they come, they get the credits. So that's pillar number 1. Pillar number 2, and I'll be quick, is not what we teach, but how we teach. We quickly recognize that there are multiple learning modalities. So the way instructors prepare and teach, that when you look at an audience, whether you're talking to 4 people, 40 people, or 400 people, you're addressing 4 learning modalities: the analytical brain, the procedural brain, the exploratory brain, or the emotional brain. And what we saw, the analytical brain needs a good lecture, and they're good to go. The procedural brain needs to have text analysis and peer discussion, while the exploratory brain needs to have visual, they learn differently, and the emotional brain needs to have the content personalized. So what we did was, this is known in the academic world as multiple intelligence, and what we quickly realized is that every single JLI lesson, whether it's on medical ethics, psychology, history, halacha, Jewish mysticism, Parsha it needs to be designed as part lecture, part learning activities, part peer text analysis and peer discussion, and part emotional content, meaning to humanize, to bring that personal touch to the text. And that's how we divided every single lesson. And that required a great deal of training. And finally, I'll finish with, that's our second pillar. What we teach, 3 pillars of relevance. What we teach is profoundly relevant to our constituency. How we teach, we pay a great deal of attention. We train our instructors not to be the sage on the stage, but the guide on the side, to allow students to come to the text and find it meaningful and relevant to them where they are, and allow them to decipher, to personalize and internalize the text in a manner that when they go home, they own what they learned. It's something that it's theirs. It's not the rabbi who's a great speaker. There's something that I can chew, I can digest, and it becomes part of who I am as a parent, as a spouse, as a coworker, as a friend. That's our second pillar of relevance. And finally, I'll finish with this. We recognize as well that how we brand and position and market JLI also very much, it's critical for it to be personalized, relevant. So we had I'll give you an example. We had a course on Jewish history, okay? This is, of course, to be a Jew in the free world. It was a course on American Jewish history. Jonathan Sarna, the well-known expert in American Jewish history, was a member of our academic advisory board. He was very involved in helping with the course. It's essentially a course on Jewish history and making it relevant. How do you promote? How do you brand, market, position the course? So I'll tell you what we did. We produced this brochure. Are you able to see this brochure?
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay. Now, the brochure that you received, Rabbi Epstein, in your home, we printed personalized 1.2 million of these brochures. Now, but there were 1.2 million different brochures made. Let me explain. The brochure that you received, Rabbi Epstein, in your home would say, Baruch, is this your great-grandmother? And in handwriting at the bottom of this photo, it would say Hannah Epstein. Now, I think I see some familiar faces. I see, for example, Cynthia Frank. Let's pick Cynthia Frank. Is Cynthia Frank there? So Cynthia, you would get this brochure. It would say here, Cynthia, is this your great-grandmother? And it would say here, Hannah Frank. Now, my friends, this looks like anyone's great-grandmother, right? In fact, when this was sent out, the first call that was made to the rabbi, because we personalized it for JLI chapters around the world, was, Rabbi Epstein, how in the world did you get a picture of my great-grandmother? That was question number one. Now, when you open the brochure, it would say here, Cynthia, how much do you know about your past? Do you know where your Frank grandparents were born? And it goes on to personalize every single brochure. And finally, ask some more questions. Did they ever tell you about their struggles living in the old world? Did they sacrifice to hold on to their Judaism upon arriving in America? Did your parents ever speak to you about your Jewish identity? And finally, you are a Jew, but do you know what that means? And slowly the course was unveiled, a course on American Jewish history, personally designed, prepared and delivered to Cynthia Frank, along with 1.2 other million Jews. I must tell you, my friends, we actually received an award for this piece from the McCormick Foundation that gives every year an award for creative marketing pieces. That year, there were 6,000 entries, and we won the award for this piece.
Lexus should have marketing like you have. Unbelievable.
Who do you think does the marketing for Lexus?
If they're smart, they come to you for advice.
So, by the way, I must say, I know I'm speaking too much, Rabbi Epstein. You have to interrupt me. You know who designs this stuff? And for example, not just this, but let me see. My friends, what does this look like? Are you able to see? It's hard to see.
It's moving a little close. Looks like a prescription, maybe a eyeglass prescription. It's a little hard to see. Move it to your left a bit, yeah. Life in the balanced Jewish perspective on everything medical.
This is a medical prescription.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was sent to hundreds of thousands of homes, written, the instructor's name appeared at the top instead of the doctor's name. It prescribed not medicine, but make sure to take medicine and morals lesson every Monday night, 7:30 at your Chabad center. And he opened up the card, it gives you more information about the course, okay? Now, this was, again, it was written in a especially unique signature handwriting of your local physician. And this is how, again, these are the things that we...
Ingenious.
We had a course on parenting. So this is what you got in the mail before the course. Certificate enclosed. You open up the envelope, it says you get a certificate with your name. So it would say, you know, Nancy and David Cohen would get this. And this is what it would say. The certificate you weren't required to get before becoming a parent will be presented to Nancy and David Cohen upon completing the course, The Art of Parenting. Okay?
Brilliant.
This is how we market the course. Now, my point is, I want to say one thing about this. Everything you're seeing tonight, everything you ever see coming out of JLI, content-wise, marketing-wise, branding-wise, design-wise, creative, was created and is created by alumni of our yeshiva system. The boys and girls that went through, some of them actually graduated the Chabad educational system in Chicago and New York and
With
Los
a
Angeles.
degree in marketing?
When you study Gemara, the Mishnah says it clearly. Hafach ba v'hafach ba the kolaba. Study Torah and you get a PhD in everything. And I'm not, literally, we used to go to leading marketing firms years and years ago, and we learned a great deal from them. And we discovered that after a while, we learned how they were doing what they were doing, and we figured out that we could do this on our own. And especially, we're talking about people who are living, breathing, working within the organization, working alongside the content developers. So they have a good sense what the material is. We pay a great deal of attention to survey data, a great deal of data analysis that we have done for us. So we know certain buzzwords and certain words not to use, and how to use words, how to package and position and brand courses, seminars, interactive learning opportunities. And those are the 3 pillars of relevance. Sorry, now I can catch my breath.
Fantastic, beautiful. Wow, like I said, Cadillac should take some lessons from you. So I want to switch the question a little bit and ask you, so you grow up in the Lubavitch Yeshiva system, you're inspired by the Rebbe to go on the Rebbe's Shlichus. How do you wind up as director of JLI, something that didn't even exist when you were in Yeshiva, and all of this marketing? I mean, what's your story? How did you go to this position?
Right, it's a great question. So I was you're touching upon a very something that really speaks to the heart and soul of every graduate of every Chabad Chassid that is raised with a passion and a drive to move out and to go on your shlichut, serve in the army of the Rebbe's army of shluchim, and that was absolutely, both my wife and I, that was our destination. We married in 1993, and we were in Kola for a year. You know, my wife was teaching, I was here, and we had every intention to move out. We were actually already looking into a number of places, and at the time, I took a job at the Shluchim office, which is one of the central offices here in New York that is a resource center for Shluchim. I was working in the area of placement, helping place, of course, the chief of placement in Chabad headquarters is Rabbi Kotlarski, and we were kind of working, helping schools find teachers and working in the education a bit here and there. And I started, when I was in Kollel, I started to write. I had a passion always to teach. When I was even before marriage, I ran a program called Project Talmud. You may recall Rabbi Epstein. It was a program where rabbinical students would go out in the summer months and teach for communities. And I was a participant, and then eventually I became director of that program for a year. And when I was married, I started to write classes for friends of mine who were on shlichut, who were serving, and for the same reasons I mentioned earlier, but they were nothing to write home about, nothing that looked like this. They were really
Nothing looks like that to this day, except that.
Thank you. So I was writing classes on the holidays, on topics, and the Shluchim office was then distributing these classes, and we were getting really remarkable feedback. And I was kind of very surprised, to be honest with you, that I knew the quality of these classes. And I put a lot of work into it, but it was nowhere near. It was far from the optimal educational experience. And I realized that Shluchim would take it and use it and dress it up and enhance it in the best as they can. But I realized then the feedback that we were getting from rabbis around the world, from these classes, because it was saving them the time, the resource, and the worry of I got a sermon, a class on Sunday, a talk on Monday. I've got to talk to teenagers on Tuesday and prepare another class for Thursday night. Just knowing that they had something at their fax machine. You remember those? At their fax machine we realized. I quickly realized that if we were to do something that was even prepared far better, and with a team, we could get that much more feedback and really make a dent, really make a difference. But my plan was to continue doing it on the side and still move out. And I was determined. In fact, my wife and I already spent a Shabbos in a city in New Jersey as a trial to look at starting a new Chabad house in a town just an hour away from here. That's how determined we were. And in my process, in the process of making these decisions, while running JLI was a very part-time thing, it was maybe 10, 15 hours a week. In my mind, I was going to do JLI as a side job. And of course, my main job would be to be a Chabad house director in New Jersey. And I wanted to stay near home because it was family reasons. My father then passed away when I was a youngster, and I had a bunch of younger siblings. I wanted to be near home to be there for them. So I didn't want to move to Stockholm or to Thailand where I had offers to go. New Jersey sounded better. So we were really had every intention to move there. And I went to speak to Rabbi Moshe Kotlarski. Many of you know, who's today one of the leading figures.
He has 2 children in Chicago. He has a son and a daughter.
Right, that's correct. And Rabbi Kotlarski.
And a nephew.
And a nephew, that's correct. So Rabbi Kotlarski, who is the Rebbe charged with the expansion of Chabad and the development of Chabad around the world, and he's a mentor. He is and remains a mentor to many, myself included. I went to discuss it with him, and I was asking him for some advice, when to move, and really how to get some funding to start this Chabad house that I was looking to start in New Jersey. And he knew about the work we were doing in JLI, and I explained to him it was something part-time, and JLI, it can't support me. It's a small little operation. It's only 10, 15 hours a week. It's nothing serious. I was going to do something serious and start a Chabad house in this town in New Jersey. And Rabbi Kotlarski looked at me. I would never forget this conversation. He said to me, how many Jews have you have enrolled in JLI this past year? So I looked up and I thought about how many Jews from both the 2 courses that we ran. I said roughly 900 Jews. We had 15 locations, maybe 20, and we offered 2 courses. And to round the numbers up, it was around 900. So Rabbi Kotlarski looks at me and says, you had 900 Jews. Imagine next year you have 1,500 Jews. The year after, 3,000. The year after that, 5,000. Eventually, 10,000, maybe even 20,000. How many Jews would you reach if you moved to this town in New Jersey? You would have a few hundred Jews that you reach throughout the year. You'll have 50 people who come, another 20 people, another few. Here, I said, he said, if you would ask the Rebbe, what would the Rebbe say? Here you started something that has the potential to reach many thousand, and although at the time it was very small, I must tell you, I walked out of his office, and it was one of those pivotal, one of those paradigm shift moments that we have sometimes in life, and he really got me thinking. My wife and I discussed this, and what should I tell you? 20 years later, I'm humbled. I'm really humbled to say, and I thank Hashem every day for this humbling zchut, this humbling merit, for having a small part, because in the team, The JLI team today is a staff of 66 people working full-time.
66.
And we are reaching, we just passed our 500,000 mark. Just this past year, we reached over 500,000 unique students over the past 20 years.
Wow.
It's incredibly humbling to know, and it's only because we're guided by Hashem, the Rebbe's blessings, and the incredible partnership that we are fortunate to have with the Rebbe's shluchim and shluchot, the men and women who continue to be an incredible symbol of sacrifice for me, of selfless and unconditional love. I learn from them every day, and I glean from them the strength and the courage to continue. We are fortunate to partner with them to be able to bring the wisdom, the inspiration, and the profound meaning and relevance of Torah to our Jewish brothers and sisters around the world.
Amen. Rabbi Mintz, thank you. 1,000 thank yous. We could go on all night. We could talk about other projects, and maybe we'll have you on again. We want to thank you so much for all your work. We want to thank you for joining us and sharing it with us, and I mean it seriously. There's nothing like it. Many people who I recognize here on the chat have been on the retreat. Mitzvah Hashem, that will come again when all of this virus is over. The land in the spirit, the trip to Eretz Yisrael. There are many, many Chabad houses here in Chicago that offer the JLI. It's virtual now, so you don't even have to be local. All the good excuses are gone. So we want to thank Rabbi Mintz. We remind everybody tomorrow night we'll do a little Parsha at 9 and Motzi Shabbos. So we change our clocks and change our lives. We have an extra hour. We're going to spend it on a special Malava Malka with Mr. Izzy Stark. We want to thank Rabbi Mintz.
Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi Epstein. I just want to say thank you again. And I noticed now, I'm on my phone, so I can't see the larger audience, but I do notice a dear friend who has been a partner in the early days of JLI and continues to be a dear friend, Reb Shmuel Goodman. I see he's on. So hi, Reb Shmuel. It's wonderful to see you. Warmest regards. And
hi, Reb Efraim.
The ultimate goal of what we're trying to do, what Rabbi Epstein, what you are doing, you're not only teaching locally, but of course, through your teachings online, reaching so many, myself included. Our goal is to imbue the world with a deeper sense of meaning and purpose until, as the prophet says, the world would be imbued and permeated with the knowledge of God. And we're humbled and fortunate that JLI can play but a small role in that pursuit. May that day come very soon.
And
thank
it's not
you,
only with
Epstein.
JLI, but they do for so many. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. 1,000 thank yous. Good night, everybody.
Thank you so much.